Good morning. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Elise Martinez. Joe is working from home and we'll hear from him in just a bit. But first, today in Houston, the third and final memorial service for George Floyd. Floyd was killed 2 weeks ago while in police custody, sparking protests across the country. Daryl Forges joins us live from Houston with a preview of today's events. Good morning, Daryl. What have you got for us this morning?
Good morning. 10,000 people are expected to line up behind me at the Fountain of Praise Worship Center here in Houston, Texas, to say their final goodbyes to George Floyd. This as protests continue all across the country. The 2 weeks since 46-year-old George Floyd was killed while in police custody have been filled with protests across the United States and inspired similar protests around the world. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets of Washington, D.C. Sunday, including at the newly painted Black Lives Matter Plaza, to call for change.
I think it's necessary that we're in D.C. in the nation's capital speaking loudly against police brutality, against racism, against violence.
Civil rights leaders say they see signs of hope.
These are revolutionary times, like my father said in his time. Revolutionary times mean that systems and people will be changed. So I'm encouraged by what we're seeing all around the world.
And at Saturday's memorial in North Carolina, Floyd's family and friends also say they are hopeful that Floyd's death will have a lasting impact on the country.
There is nowhere in the world that his life will not change the trajectory of racism from now on.
Today, Floyd comes home to Houston, the city where he grew up, for the third and final memorial service. And former Vice President Joe Biden is expected to make his way down to Houston later on today to meet privately with George Floyd's family. Meanwhile, back in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Derek Chauvin, the officer seen in the video putting his knee to George Floyd's neck, is expected to make his first court appearance later on today. Live in Houston, Texas, I'm Daryl Forges.
And in Washington today, House Democrats will unveil legislation aimed at reforming policing policies. The bill is expected to impose new conditions on funding for law enforcement and make it easier to prosecute police officers in civil court for misconduct. Here's Mona Kosar Abdi.
As thousands march in cities from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., taking a stance against police brutality, the city council in Minneapolis is announcing the intent to dismantle the city's police force.
Our commitment is to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department, to end policing as we know it.
Their plan is to end the police department through a budgetary process over the next year, diverting those funds toward a community-based public safety model. Earlier, protesters booed Mayor Jacob Frey after he said he does not support abolishing the police force. In Washington today, House Democrats will unveil legislation aimed at reforming policing policies. The bill is expected to impose new conditions on funding for law enforcement and make it easier to prosecute police officers in civil court for misconduct. Mona Kosar Abdi.
And as many as 20,000 demonstrators took to the streets of Hollywood over the weekend to demand racial justice. The march followed other largely peaceful protests. This demonstration was sponsored by Black Lives Matter and rapper YG. Here at home, another day of demonstrations took place in Ventura County. This protest at the Government Center follows protests in Oxnard and Simi Valley organized by teens on Friday. Many of the cities are linked to controversial police cases. Today, participants held signs and wore masks to prevent the spread of COVID-19, but participants said they wouldn't let the pandemic prevent them from speaking out about Black Lives Matter and the death of George Floyd. All right, it's time now to get your first check of your weather with Julia Espinosa. She's in the First Alert Weather Center, and she is busy this morning.
Good Monday morning, Elise. We are expecting critical fire weather for Santa Barbara and Ventura County. You can see here we're starting off with those strong gusts, north to northeast wind, anywhere between 20 to 30 miles per hour. Those wind gusts pushing on in over the interior valleys for our mountain areas as well. And we are under a high wind watch all the way up until 9 a.m. when it comes to southern Santa Barbara County. So those gusts could amount up to 60 miles per hour. For Ventura County, you're looking at a wind advisory for the lower elevations near the coast, where you are going to be seeing those gusts gust amount up to 50 miles per hour, expected to expire at 3 p.m. So when you combine those warm temperatures and strong winds, relative humidity is expected to be lowered. Right now we're at 38% for Santa Barbara, Ventura at 61%, you have Santa Maria at 71%. So those areas that are lower are going to be much warmer. Santa Barbara right now, you're starting off at 62 degrees compared to Santa Maria at 50, Ventura checking in at 54 degrees, and temperatures are going to be warming to above average conditions where we are going to be talking 90s this week. More details come up shortly. For now, sending it back to you.
All right, we're going to update you now on this brush fire that broke out this morning in Castaic on the east side of the 5 freeway. It's called the Halsey Canyon Fire. It has burned more than 20 acres, but estimates are that it has grown more since it broke out this morning. We're going to try to get an update on the acreage for you. It broke out around 3:40 near power lines. It's burning near the Pitch Detention Center, but evacuations have not yet been ordered. Now that the sun is out, the fire looks a lot better, but you can see all that smoke in the air. No homes are threatened right now. We've seen helicopters making water drops. There's one. Looks like it's getting ready to pick up some water from that source there and then take it back over the fire. A lot of resources on this fire, which critical fire weather conditions. We're going to keep an eye on it for you and bring you the latest as soon as it becomes available. And high season has returned to the Central Coast with firefighting crews busy responding to vegetation fires, including one this morning in the Santa Ynez Valley. Morning News reporter Keith Carls is live in Santa Maria with more. Good morning, Keith.
Yeah, good morning, Elise. You've been reporting fire season is coming back with a vengeance right now, up and down the state. What I can tell you is that a small vegetation fire broke out this morning, creek bed along the 2200 block of Road that's near Solvang. Santa Barbara County fire crews were quickly on top of it. They were able to snuff it out. The cause of that fire investigation. Now, this followed 2 larger wildfires in northern Santa Barbara County. One of those fires required temporary evacuations of property and their animals along the 1800 block of View Drive, that's in the Santa Ynez Valley. No structures were lost or damaged in that fire. Fire blackened more than 70 acres along White Rock Road. That's near the Twitchell Reservoir east of Santa Maria. No structures were ever threatened, but in addition to the ground crews that fought these fires, aerial support was needed, dropping water and retardant in both firefighting situations. Now, as Julie has mentioned, there's a red flag high wind warning in effect for Santa Barbara County until later today. The Santa Barbara County Fire Department had planned to prescribe burns along Figueroa Mountain Road near Los Olivos this week for live fire training and to prevent the spread of wildfire, but we'll have to wait and see if those plans remain in place given these conditions that are now taking place with regard to the red flag warning, high winds, and dry conditions. We'll see if the County Fire plans to continue that live fire training. Reporting live in Santa Maria this morning, I'm Keith Corrals. Elise, back to you.
Thank you so much, Keith. Delta Airlines is suspending services at the Santa Barbara Airport this summer. It'll also be cutting flights at 10 other airports next month. Delta says they're stopping flights in order to reduce costs as they work to recover from financial impacts because of COVID-19. The full list of U.S. airports impacted is on our website and our mobile app. It is 6:08, still ahead on your morning news. Thousands of people could head back to work in New York City today as it takes its first steps to reopen. Plus,
I'm Joe Butita. Good morning, everyone. We're going to have the latest on a COVID-19 program that is feeding thousands of farm workers in Ventura County. We'll tell you just how much food they've passed out as well. See you back here in a couple minutes.
And taking a look at your traffic commute, it's an easy Monday morning. No traffic accidents to report. Heading from Santa Barbara to Ventura, expect an average commute drive taking 24 minutes. From Santa Maria to San Luis Obispo, 28. Have a safe drive. Your news continues after this.
welcome back. Somewhat lost in the shuffle over the weekend was an amazing COVID-19 relief effort, and it's not the first time that it's given back. Our Joe Butita joins us live this morning with that story. Good morning, Joe. You even got a tie on.
Hey, good morning, Elise. I got a tie on. I won't talk about what may be under the camera. I do have pants on, though, which is good news. I hope all of you had a fantastic weekend. This was a great event that happened, and it's the 15th time that they have done this. It's called Feeding the Front Line, providing food for the most essential workers during the coronavirus pandemic. And this one was in Oxnard. Farm workers and their families receiving boxes of donated food and supplies. This all starts with the community outreach director at the Port of Hueneme. His name is Miguel Rodriguez. He saw a need and then jumped at the chance to organize these food drives. He then pulled in other businesses who were looking to help as well, and that includes Del Monte Fresh Foods, which is actually a client of the port, and they've donated thousands of melons, banana, cantaloupe, and pineapples.
Farm workers are usually at work when a lot of the mainstream food distributions are happening, so they don't have the time to be, on a Wednesday at noon picking up their food. So what we do here is very intentionally, we bring it to the neighborhood, we bring it to the church, we bring it to the school, and we provide resources for them that they can use not only for personal hygiene, but also for their weekly food consumption.
All right, now get this. So far in these 15 events, over 250,000 pounds of fresh produce and grains have been delivered directly into the hands of farm workers and their families. Each event also providing health information about COVID-19 from healthcare provider Clínicas del Camino Real. So this all started as a listening campaign. The port was reaching out to the community to find out what they might be able to do during the coronavirus pandemic. It's now become a huge lifeline for people. They've helped their 10,000th family with this drive over the weekend. It's pretty cool stuff. Elise, we'll toss things back to you.
All right, thanks, Joe. What a great program. And stay with us. We'll be right back.